Hello everyone, it's Jules here and welcome back to Mystery Lake. So you have probably seen the first couple of videos that we posted we talked about one of the most popular deck currently in meta, which is the Zapdos Jirachi. If you've missed that, make sure to go and check it out. Now, today we're here to talk about another kind of deck, which is also very popular right now, and that has also found a lot of success recently in different tournaments all over the world. And I'm talking, of course, about the UItra Necrozma GX Malamar deck. So there are many different versions of this deck. You've probably seen most of them. The thing that they all have in common is the presence of of course, the UItra Necrozma GX and the Malamar energy engine, as we are going to see shortly into detail. But first, allow me to remember you that we also stream live on Twitch and we play some games there as well as team building some interesting decks for competitive TCG. And you can find us at Twitch TV/Mystery Lake. Also, if you want to receive news and watch some highlights from our stream or videos on YouTube, be sure to follow us on Twitter, twitter.com at mystery lake as well. So it's pretty much the same except for the site to begin with. So let's go now. Let's start without further ado to analyze this deck. So I will propose a different format now. We will have also two or three parts of the same video, but the first one, which is this one, is going to be just deck analysis, deck profile, if you wish, and then the other two are going to show off some games with the very same deck, of course, that was presented during the first video. So we'll see how it goes because the other videos were kind of too long. So we're going to see to tune things as time pass by, like as we gain experience, basically. So let's jump right into this UItra Necrozma GX. So let's talk about the UItra Necrozma itself first. So this card is pretty amazing, both for his look because it's actually stunning. The artwork is amazing. So this is the promo, but pretty much all of them are really cool. And then let's look at the attack. So it has two attacks, Photon Geyser and Sky Scorching Light GX. Also, Sky Scorching Light I think it's personally one of the best name for an attack, especially for a GX attacks. Anyway, so what the attack does, the Photon Geysers, which is the one that we are going to use the most, it uses just two energy, one metal and one psychic, and you discard all basic psychic energy from this Pokemon. This attack deals 80 more damage for each card you discarded in this way. Of course, so this grants basically potentially unlimited damage, which is why this deck is become even more popular now for facing off big tag team GXs that usually have a lot of HPs. Like let's think about the Magikarp Wailord that has 300 if I'm not mistaken, and the Venusaur Celebi that has 270 but most likely is played with a tool card that increases the HP by 40, so it gets up to 310 HP, which is a lot. And with the UItra Necrozma, you technically don't have any limit to the amount of damage that you can deal, as long as you discard many psychic energies. But is it that bad for us to discard psychic energy? Of course it's not, because we have the... So anyway, this is pretty much what the Necrozma does. Then the Sky Scorching Light GX is a game finisher. It's a game finisher. It adds the nice touch on your game, because you can basically, as you can see, you can use this attack only if the total of both players' remaining prize card is 6 or less, so it's really in late game. And you can put 6 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon. So it is like, it happens a lot of time to be like 2 prizes or 1 prize short, and the opponents wrongly place a base Pokemon on the bench. And usually it's like it can happen that base Pokemon have less than 60 HP, which means or exactly 60 HP, it's even more common, which means that it's very likely that you're going to get a few prizes, 1 prize or a couple of them, by using the Sky Scorching Light GX and taking the KO over your opponent's bench. So it is a relatively powerful tool for the late game, especially in some matchups against, for example, the Lost March, which because the jump bluffs that Dex plays, they have all 70 HP. So we will see that this attack combines perfectly Also with another Pokemon that we have in the deck, which is the Giratina from Lost Thunder, and we are going to see that shortly. So moving on to the other, we said, is that bad to remove energy, to discard all this psychic energy to get big KOs? And the answer is of course not, because thanks to the Malamar with the psychic recharge, we can once during our turn we can attach psychic energy from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon, which means that basically we don't even when we discard psychic energy, we are not actually losing them. We can reattach them to some other people, some other Pokemon. And who do we attach them to? Well, that is the next point that connects to the Sky Scorching Light GX that I mentioned before, because our main one price attacker would be this Giratina from Lost Thunder. So it pairs good with the Malamar because you can attack with the Necrozma, discard the Psychic Energy, attach the Psychic Energy to the Giratina, and then attack with the Giratina. So this is the normal circle, the normal cycle. But then again, let's mention let's mention for example the matchup against Lost Thunder, sorry, against Lost March. Then imagine that he has like two Jumpluff in the bench and one in front. You can discard your Giratina somehow. Can be a Whole Trouble, can be an Acrobike, can be a Mysterious Treasure, whatever. Then you can use this ability and take it back from the discard pile into your bench and put 2 damage counter on 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Which of course, in that case, they are going to be the 2 jump bluffs. And then with an Necrozma you can Sky Scorching Light GX and take 2 KOs at the same time. So this is actually a really powerful combination, like a really powerful combo. The Distortion Dove plus Sky Scorching Light GX, especially against some decks like the Lost March, as I said. But again, also Jirachi has 70 HP. So if any deck pretty much is running a Jirachi, more than one Jirachi right now. So it is very good actually. It would be very good to take like put 1 damage counter on him so that he's in range eventually for later on. He's in range for a Sky Scorching like GX. So it is very convenient to have this Giratina, and it pairs really well with the Ultra Necrozma. But then Malamar, so the energy that we would attach with the Malamar, we can attach them also to the Wings Necrozma GX, which is a simple attacker. It does damages. It's pure damages. 120 with the first one, 180 with the second one, which is also preventing all the damage done to all the effects and damages done to this Pokemon during our opponent's next turn. Only if we have more prize card remaining than your opponent. So it is basically like the Jolteon GX attack, except that it does more damage, but you cannot always use it. And a good thing about this Necrozma is also this ability, because sometimes you get stuck with the Malamar in the active position, for example. What can you do is to use the Malamar to give energies to the Dawnwing Necrozma if you have it in the bench, and then use your Invasion ability just to promote it to the active position without wasting a Guzma or just paying the retreat costs. And then one card that I personally like a lot in this deck is the Marshadow GX, because basically we don't care not at all. We don't care at all about the attacks, because we are never going to use it simply because we don't run any fighting energy in the deck. But it's for the ability. With ability, in fact, you can use the attacks of any basic Pokemon in your discard pile. So you lose one Necrozma, you can use your one Ultra Necrozma. You discard it. You can even discard it yourself with a Mysterious Treasure, or again all of discard that actually discard cards. And then you can use their attack with the Marshadow. And of course, you need to, as you said, you still need the necessary energy to use each attack. So you need to have the one Metal Energy and one Psychic Energy. But still, it's very helpful. Also because people most likely do not know about it, or they don't think that that you are playing this Marshadow. So once they see that you have 2 Necrozma in the discard pile, they might even be consider themselves safe by placing bench basic Pokemon in the bench. That then become really nice target for you to eat with the Sky Scorching Light GX from the Necrozma in the discard pile, done by this Marshadow GX here. So it happens sometimes to me that to get like 4 prizes in one turn using the Sky Scorching like GX with the Marshadow. It is one of the most satisfying things that has ever happened to me in this game. So it's actually pretty cool. Lastly, we are playing this Marshadow, well, you have seen in many other decks, most likely. Well, of course, we don't care about the attack. That is almost. I don't think I ever use that attack, but we care about the abilities. So sometimes we can have ourselves a bad end simply, but also it's more importantly it's used to disrupt the opponent's play by making him forcibly forcing him to shuffle his hand into the deck. So that's classic. It's a classic card. It's no news. So in fact, nothing is very new about this deck except for this Viridian Forest and the Erika's Hospitality. But we are going to get there. So let's go back to let's move on to the trainers. We have 4 aggro bike. Well, the aggro bike is simply to make the deck work faster, and also it can be useful to discard some useful card. So being that you show 2 cards, you see, look at the top 2 cards, and then discard one and pick and draw the other. It can be helpful sometimes if you have to choose between one card, whichever it is, and an energy or a Giratina. It could be very helpful to discard the energy or discard the Giratina, because you can get it back, both the Giratina and the energy, if you have the Malamar. So that's the idea behind the aggro bike. The Beastring is actually an amazing card which has seen a lot of play with the Blacephalon GX, but it's indeed the reasoning behind this is similar here, because you can play this card only when you have when your opponent has exactly 3 or 4 prize cards remaining, and you can search up for your deck up for up to energy and attach them to one of your Ultra Beasts, that in this case, of course, is the Ultra Necrozma. So let's imagine to have a Ultra Necrozma with 1 Metal Energy, or even without a Metal Energy, maybe with 1 Psychic Energy. We don't have the Metal Energy, and we don't have the Viridian Forest. So in a situation, let's say, in which we are losing, and therefore our opponent has like 3 or 4 prize, we can use the Beast Ring to get 1 Psychic Energy and 1 Metal Energy, and we attach them both at the same turn. So we will have already 1 Metal and 2 Psychic for 180 damage, which is a lot already. But if that's not enough, we can assign a third Psychic Energy from the end if we have it. Or even if we have the Necrozma in the bench, we can use the Malamar if we have the Malamar in the active. We can use the ability to attach many more Psychic Energy, and then Guzma the Crozma in. So it is a very versatile card. That's what I'm saying. Basically, it can help in many situations. The Beast Ring, to have more damage or to find the Metal Energy, for example. The Mysterious Treasure is clearly what it is used for. It synergizes perfectly with this deck because it allows you to search for a Psychic or Dragon Pokemon. Most of the time would be the Inkay, the Malamars, the Ultra Necrozma, or anyway, any Psychic, any Pokemon here except for the Marshadow is fine. One other thing that can be done is to remove one of the Pokemon, or maybe one aggro bike, and add the Tapu Lele GX. Because it's very helpful to have a supporter on the first turn, for example. So if we have a Mysterious Treasure, we can just use it for turn 1, get ourselves a Tapu Lele GX, and get a Lily, most likely. Or also not in the first turn, in any turn, having an Erika's Hospitality or Cynthia for granted is actually very helpful. So I don't have the Tapu Lele GX on my online account, so that's the only reason why I'm not playing it. That's actually... There are some versions that are playing a Jirachi, but I don't like it because it forces you to put, well, kind of forces you to put a skateboard too, and there are not that many cards you can give up on in this list. So I prefer it to play like the old ways, without Jirachi, without Tapu Lele because I don't have it. Well, the Rescue Stretcher, it's a classical Rescue Stretcher, just as the Ultra Ball is a classic. They are classic Ultra Balls. We have a 4-pair, but that basically helps in recovering Pokemon from the discard pile, and the Ultra Ball helps in drawing the Pokemon that we need. This card, the Viridian Forest, has been added from Team Up expansion. In fact, it's from Team Up, and this is amazing. Is an amazing card that fits perfectly this deck, because most of the time, uh, these kind of deck are not playing that many metal energy. In my case, I'm playing two, which someone could argue it's too few, but it usually works, especially because you have the Viridian Forest to get and to draw those energies from the deck, provided that they are not priced, of course. Um, and it is actually synergized very well to get the metal energy and also to discard the cards that you don't need. So, or that you want the cards that you need, but that you want to discard, like other psychic energies or the Giratina, for example. So it's pretty. After all, it really fits this deck perfectly. This card. Then the other new addition from after team up is Erika's Hospitality, which is, I mean, it's a drawing support. So we are playing in total 9 drawing support for Cynthia, 3 Lilies, and 2 Erika's Hospitality. Erika's Hospitality is just good whenever we want to draw cards without without reshuffling with the one that we have, without reshuffling with the one we already have, and we want to draw cards regardless of the total card that we have at the end of the turn. So sometimes we have like 5 cards, but still they're not very useful. But neither we want to discard them, and so we wouldn't be using neither a Cynthia nor a Lily in that situation, because Lily, when you have 5 cards in hand, means that you are going to draw just 3 cards, just 1 card. So it's not really awesome. While the Erika's Hospitality, it perfectly fits this kind of scenarios, which you have a lot of cards, well, kind of a lot of some cards, because you still need to have 4 or fewer cards in your hand to play this. So you have some card and you want more. So I think Erika's Hospitality and Lily are complementary. You cannot have only one of the two. You cannot have like 4 Lily and 0 Erika's, or 4 Erika's and 0 Lily, or at least most of the cases you don't want that, and you want some of both. No, the Gudzma is also very classic. We are playing 3 pairs, 3 copies of Gudzma, and the Choice Band to boost the damages of our UItra Necrozma or the Giratina. And yeah, the energies, we are playing 2 metal and 9 psychic. And let me focus one thing. And okay, the beast energy to assign to the UItra Necrozma is a third way to get the steel energy that we need to attack, and also the attacks from the Pokemon to which this card is attached deal 30 damage more. So if it's a Ultra Beast, of course. I wanted to focus on this card, the Spell Tag, because the Spell Tag synergizes perfectly with the Giratina. So, because basically this card says is that when the Psychic Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out, then you can put 4 damage counter on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. Which is insane if you think about it, because if you assign it to the Giratina, the opponent sooner or later will have to deal with the Giratina, so they will have to kill it. And when they do, they are opening themselves to 6 damage counters on any Pokemon that you like from their side. Which means that you can snipe some Pokemons, for example, that have like a low HP. So for example, imagine that you have so okay, it's not really 6 damage counter, because the 2 from the Giratina have to be on 2 different Pokemon, but it's still you get up to 5 damage counter on one single Pokemon. So if there's a 40 HP Pokemon or 50 HP Pokemon in the bench of your opponent, you can kill it just like that. Also, an important thing is that the to deal, so the amount of damage that you are most likely going to deal is either 130 with the Giratina, or most of the time 180 with the Necrozma if you have 2 psychic energy. So, what you can do to take down all those GXs that have to 210 HP, or something over there, 190 for example, is to put 1 damage counter on them using the spell, like the correct amount, of course. So for example, for a Zoroark it would be 3 damage counters to get from 210 to 180 and stuff like that. So you can do that with this spell tag attached either to either to the Giratina or the Marshadow, of course, because it needs to be a psychic Pokemon. So it is very situational, but nevertheless it can be a pretty good card. And also it makes the Giratina even more difficult to deal with. So this is pretty much all the deck. It's a very versatile deck. You can rely on the Giratina. You can rely on the Giratina plus spell tag. You can rely on the Necrozma attacking with the Beast Energy. You can rely on the Necrozma itself because it's a very strong card. When you're behind, you can rely on the Downwind Necrozma and his Moon Eclipse GX. Or and always, even if you're not behind, you can rely on this invasion ability to get things moving, to maybe even just to save an Ultra Necrozma for a clear KO, for a sure KO, or even to save a Malamar, because otherwise you will not have any more the energy engine that I talked about before. So it's pretty much you have plenty of possibilities, and also the final touch is to get a KO with a Marshadow GX using an attack from someone in the bench that can also be, for example, the Dawnwing Necrozma. So you can deal 180 damage and be invincible for the next turn with Marshadow. So it's a rich tapestry. This deck is full of possibilities, full of countermeasure to many of the current play deck. It is not an easy deck for sure because it needs to it rely so out of all these powerful Pokemon that we showed, so the Necrozmas, the Marshadow, the Giratina, and whatnot. In order to be successful, this deck relies a lot on having a few of the Malamars already set, like in turn 2. So in turn 2, you should hope for having at least 2 Malamars up already in the bench, and some energies in the discard pile, because otherwise you're really going to struggle in yeah, putting the strategy to work, dealing damages, especially with the Dawnwing. So with the Ultra Necrozma, you can also rely on simply drawing the 2 energies and maybe the Viridian Forest to get the metal one. But for the Dawnwing Necrozma, you really need the Marshadow, because it's sorry, not the Marshadow, the Malamar, because it's 3 psychic energy. So it will take it will take at least 3 turns if you, of course, if you need to attach them one by one manually. So an important things to look for, just as much as having the Jirachi in turn 1 with the Zapdos Jirachi as we saw in the last video, the things that we have to look for here is to have at least 1 or 2 Malamar in the first turns already ready, possibly in the bench, because otherwise they are going to be targeted by the opponents. By the opponent. Also, if you are playing against this kind of deck, what do you do? So, for example, you should try to. So the main advice to give, and the most important actually, is to target down the Inkays and the Malamar as soon as you can, and as much as you can. Because if you manage to deal with the Inkay very early in the game, then you will not have trouble in late game. Simple as that, because the Don't-Win Necrozma, if he's playing the Don't-Win Necrozma, he's not going to be able to attack easily. So the same goes for the Ultra Necrozma and the the regular Necrozma, if he's playing that, because there is a possibility. So the general thing to do is to try and snipe down the Inkays and the Malamar throughout the whole game. While the opposite thing is what I would recommend to do for the Giratina. So whenever you have you are facing this deck and it has a Giratina in the front, don't take the KO unless it's really necessary and you don't have any other things to do, because taking a KO with a Giratina is on a Giratina is pretty much useless, as he's going to go back with. So if it has 3 energy and you knock it out, he's going to go back, deal 2 damage to your bench Pokemon, and also have the 3 energies back very fast through the thanks to the Malamar. So try to play around the Giratina as much as possible, using mainly Guzmas, or if you are using them, like if your deck includes this, you can use also escape rope or counter catcher or whatever that allows that force your Pokemon to switch their active one. So if they have Giratina, they need to switch it for someone else. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed this deck profile today, and if you did, make sure to click on the subscribe button and to subscribe to the channel and being constantly updated on what is new in the world of Pokemon TCG. And also, again, if you enjoy our content, make sure to support us on Twitch too, at Twitch TV / Mystery Lake, and on Twitter at Mystery Lake, and on Twitter at Mystery Lake. Be sure to support us everywhere. We really need it. Thanks a lot, guys, and see you in the next video with some games with this awesome Ultra Necrozma GX deck. Bye bye.